What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another Twitch stream here. If you're watching on YouTube, welcome. Please subscribe, like. That really does help us out. This is going to be the last of the Slate previews that we kind of do together. Back to feeling almost human-like. So we'll be back to getting those bad boys up on YouTube daily. And then we can explore a bunch of different topics here on Twitch. But for now, we will do one last preview. We've got 6 games, and they're all pretty good. Lowest total is a 213. Highest is a 226.5. I'm sorry, 238.5. So we've got some good totals here. So we'll kind of just play it by ear. We'll go in order. If you guys got questions, let me go. I am not talking about that, Seth. But we'll talk some DFS. We can save that conversation for the Fantasy Cruncher Discord channel. If you're not in the Fantasy Cruncher Discord, hop on over to my Twitch page, type an exclamation point Discord, and hop on in with either a subscription to Fantasy Cruncher or my Twitch channel. We have a ton of fun over there. So encourage you to check that out. Let's start with Chicago at Indiana. We've got a ton of injury news here. Most of it is just the Bulls are listing the whole team as probable because, well, they almost got fined one time because their coach talked about an injury that wasn't on the injury report. And so they just responded in kind by just listing everyone as probable every game. So Levine's probable, Satoransky's probable. Arcidiacono is out, I think. Let me just double check that. Pretty sure he's out. Arcidiacono is... He's probable. Hutchinson's day-to-day. Valentine's day-to-day. Cornette's day-to-day. Marketing, Gafford. I mean, do they even have enough players? How many players do they even have? Let me just make sure these guys are all probable. Thank you very much, Slate 33 for the follow. Let me just make sure her Hutchinson is probable and Valentine is probable. Okay, cool. And Zach LaVine is probable. The Zach LaVine price, 8,600, is probably a nice value if you're not looking to fit in a superstar. His usage has been through the roof since these injuries have occurred. 32%, 44%, 37%, 32% usage. Hasn't shot the ball all that great, but that will change. He'll get more free throw attempts. So I like Zach LaVine at 8,600 here, especially with Oladipo playing his first game of the year. I suspect that defense will be the first thing or the last thing to come back. So that's definitely an option. Chris Dunn, 5,500 is the next guy I want to bring up. He's a guy you normally don't think about when everyone's healthy, but quietly his minutes have been very stable. 32, 32, 27 in a blowout loss, 33, 35. Not the highest usage player, but he's a guy that can get you 30 to 35 fantasy points. So I think he's pretty interesting at 5,500. He's a nice contrarian part, nice part of a game stack if you're going that direction. The rest of the Bulls are kind of just blah. Like, Thad Young will probably play minutes, but, like, what's his real ceiling? He hasn't really flashed it much at all this year. 5,300 is probably too rich for my blood. You know, Otto Porter's still out. So, you know, like Kobe White, 3,900. He just hasn't made a shot in a month. He's got upside, but he just hasn't made a shot in a month. That's going to change eventually, but he just hasn't right now. You know, Felicio... Yeah, I can't. Cornette, 5,000. Nah, I can't get there either. So it's really just LaVine and Dunn on the Bulls. Pacers side, Miles Turner and Malcolm Brogdon are game time decisions. Victor Oladipo is on a minutes limit today. I think it's 20 minutes. Someone in the Twitch chat tell me if I'm wrong. But I'm pretty sure it's a 20 minute limit. So you can't really play him at 6,000. If those guys miss, Sabonis at 9,400 becomes one of the better options. Bulls have no interior presence. you'd be looking at a 20 rebound spot for Sabonis. So 2020 would be totally in play. So 9,400 I think is not expensive enough for Sabonis in that scenario. Okay, so the minutes limit's actually 16 minutes. Doesn't really change the analysis, but it's 16 minutes, not 20. But same idea. Definitely can't play him either way. Jeremy Lamb, his price is up to 5,200. I can't get there. Aaron Holiday, 4,800. I don't hate that if Brogdon sits, but with Oladipo back, the usage is going to be a little wonky. I don't really think you need to go there. I think you're really just better off in this game, kind of just focusing on the main pieces: Sabonis, Levine, Chris Dunn, and not getting too carried away with anything else. With Oladipo coming back, we don't know how the Pacers are going to do their rotations or anything, so probably better just to sit and wait. Okay, that's the lowest total game of the entire slate too. So, Detroit at Brooklyn. Andre Drummond is questionable. Luke Kennard is out, I believe. Let me just double check that real quick. Sorry, I forgot to unmute the mic. Luke Kennard's out. Derrick Rose day to day. Tony Snell day to day. Sekou day to day. For Detroit, if those guys all sit, top looking option: Bruce Brown, Reggie Jackson, Christian Wood, Markieff Morris would all be good value plays. Even Langston Galloway at 3,900 would be a good option if those guys all sat. Galloway at 3,900 might be my favorite of the group. He's been playing about 30 minutes in competitive games with those guys out. His price, just given what DraftKings pricing has done on everything else, certainly should be a bit higher. Yeah, it's Derrick Rose. I just don't believe it until I see him on the floor. He expected to play, but I do just not trust it until I see it. But that's a good point. Andre Drummond, 9,700. If he plays against Brooklyn, I mean, he has just torched Brooklyn for fun. Puts up 20-20s like every single game. Hard to imagine fading him, but how healthy is he? Who knows? But if he plays, he'll definitely be in the board play consideration, just given his track record against the undersized Brooklyn team. Wouldn't be surprised if is he still out? Oh, DeAndre Jordan's back, so that'll change the calculation a little bit, but I don't think it's going to change it all that much. Kyrie, 9,100. He missed Sunday's game due to Kobe Bryant's sudden passing. I would expect him to come out pretty motivated today. Kyrie's a high usage guy, around 32%. I believe in narratives for high usage players. I think Kyrie is going to take as many shots as he likes today. Now, is that 24? Is that 32? Who knows? But I against this Detroit team that really can't defend him, they really don't have anyone athletic enough. Kyrie's going to score as many fantasy points as he likes. We saw on their last meeting he put up 30 shots and put up 45 real life points. So, Kyrie has massive upside in this spot, and if he's motivated, that's a scary, scary thought. Arizona Bay in the chat says it can occasionally low usage players. Gary Trent Jr. Anyone? I didn't play Gary Trent Jr. for the millionth time. He's talking about his birthday when he was on a back-to-back with a knee and it looked like he was going to be sick. But I need to explain this to him one more time. I did not play Gary Trent that day. He burned me badly. Other Detroit injury news here. Other freaking Brooklyn news. He's got me all on tilt. It was a very, very frustrating slate for me. These other Brooklyn role guys are fairly priced. There really isn't anyone I'm desperate to get to. If you were game stacking, like you could play Prince, you could play Levert, but I don't think they're going to be like optimal plays outside of a game stack type situation. So I think this is another game where it's kind of simple. It's Kyrie, and it's Derrick Rose, it's Drummond, and then maybe like a Galloway or a Bruce Brown Jr. type play if someone from Detroit we're not expecting sits. But I actually really like Galloway either way if Snell's out, because that should open up minutes for Galloway on the wing. So 3,900 is probably too cheap for him against Brooklyn, who gives up a ton of points to shooting guards who just like to chuck up threes. So it's actually probably a sneaky good spot for Galloway either way. Memphis at the New York Knicks. Memphis is favored by 2. Memphis injury report. Milton, who was not on injury report yesterday. He wasn't on an injury report, and then he didn't play. And then Jay Crowder is not listed on the injury report. He'll be back. Everyone on Memphis is kind of priced up as if Jay Crowder was out. So it's really tough to kind of get to anyone. Actually, the one guy who's probably the best of these options is Jay Crowder himself. But, you know, with Morant and Jonas and Jaren and Brooks. Remember when Brooks was like 4,200, by the way, and we would just play him every single slate? Where were these 40-point games when I did that for like 2 months straight? Not that he wasn't crushing value, but it would be nice to get some 40s. You know, I just don't really see a play here on Memphis that, like, moves the needle for me. Jonas Valanciunas, I guess, but you just never know what the minutes are going to be. They're most likely going to be in the 20s, especially with Jaren Jackson and Brandon Clark there. So it's tough to get, like, super ramped up for either one of those. The Knicks, RJ Barrett's still out. Marcus Morris is priced up. Randall's priced up. Like, the guy I would like to play is Mitchell Robinson, but he just doesn't get enough minutes. Like, if he ever gets above 30 minutes, I'll play him every single slate at this price point. But in the 24 to 26 minute range, just really isn't a guy that I'm all that enthused about. For sure. So I got a question on the last game. Would Morris interest if Drummond is out? It would be sky high. Those would be the guys that I'd be playing lots of. So yeah, those are definitely key plays if Drummond does miss. Honestly, that's kind of it for Knicks Memphis. I just don't see anything here. Like, Jay Crowder 4,400, I guess I could see the minutes ceiling, but he's coming off a knee injury. I'm not expecting a minutes ceiling here from him. So this game, despite a pretty appealing total, kind of a pass for me. Utah at San Antonio. The only injury news here is LaMarcus Aldridge is out again. DeMar DeRozan's only 8,400. That's a steal and a half at the price. I've talked about him. So ever since they've stretched out the floor at the 5 and put a shooter out there, DeMar DeRozan's been going bonkers for the better part of a month. You see all this green. This is when LaMarcus Aldridge started shooting threes. They started spreading out the floor more. And you can see DeMar DeRozan has gone absolutely bonkers every time since. He's low owned because everyone just assumes he's DeMar DeRozan of old, and they don't look at the peripherals. He's been crushing the peripheral game for better part of a month now. I believe it. It's real. If you watch the Spurs, it's real. 8,400 to steal. He should be a core play. He'll be one of my highest owned projected players on DraftKings. I think I first run at my projections. I think I had him projected at 49 DK. Hold on, let me look. My projections, which you can get in the Discord channel when I place full slates, is 49.2. So if I was just plug in 49.2, you can see that becomes a very core play very quickly. Other than that on the Spurs, you know, the price on Jakob Poeltl is up to 5,600. I like the player, but this is the exact opposite matchup that he had last time against Chicago. Against Chicago, there was no one that could defend him. And in this game, there's Rudy Gobert, which can get him in foul trouble and is basically a much better version of Poeltl. So I'm going to fade him at 5,600, and I'm going to pivot to Trey Lyles at 3,700. Played 26 minutes last game. Kind of did Trey Lyles things, low usage, but I think he could get more than 26 minutes here. I think they really are going to want to stretch Gobert out on the floor, and that's not Jakob Poeltl. I do think that is Trey Lyles. So I expect Trey Lyles to play some 5 in this game to stretch out um, Rudy Gobert. So he's at 3,700. He's probably one of the value plays that I have graded much higher than probably the field. DeJounte Murray, you just never know what the minutes between him and Derek White. Right now, it appears Derek White's getting more minutes. They just don't play together. So I'll just pass on both at this point. It's ridiculous they're not playing DeJounte Murray more minutes, but they're not playing more minutes. On FanDuel, Poeltl's 4,400. I think that's a very reasonable price. I haven't looked at the rest of the pricing over there, but that's the type of price where you would just play Poeltl. Rudy Gay, been pretty popular lately. I just think the minutes are going to be restricted for here a little bit longer, so I'll take a pass on Rudy Gay. They still are trying to play Lonnie Walker real minutes, so I'm just not sure, barring an injury, that Rudy Gay is going to go back to his 30-minute ways. So that's the type of guy I'll pass on. Utah, it's an interesting spot from Gobert at 8,700, but there's just a lot of centers I'm going to like more than him. But he's a low-owned contrarian option for sure. Donovan Mitchell, 8K. With Conley coming back and starting to work his way back up in terms of minutes, I'm just really not going to pay up for any one of these guys. Conley played 25 minutes last game. I have to admit, 3,800 on DraftKings. I'm going to give this a strong look. If he's going to play 25 to 27 minutes tonight at 3,800, hard not to consider him. I don't know what his ownership is going to be. I haven't looked at ownership yet. But if it's going to be low, and it might be, I think this is a spot to take the shot on Mike Conley. I know he hasn't been the same this year, but this is an interesting spot against the Spurs. Really no rim defense with Aldridge out. So he could kind of, and the Spurs bench in itself doesn't really defend all that well. So I think this is a pretty interesting Mike Conley spot in the deepest of tournaments. And people in my Twitch chat are saying I just can't play Mike Conley, which probably indicates to me I need to be playing Mike Conley. I think that's it for this game. There are some appealing prices if someone else was to get ruled out late. I think there's definitely some swapping options, but nothing that like pops off the top of my head. All right, next game, the granddaddy of them all, Houston at Portland, 238 total. James Harden is a game time decision. This obviously will determine most of everything. Capella, I believe, is off the injury report, if I saw correctly. Why can't I find it? I think Clint Capella's off the injury report. This is what happens when you don't update all of your injury news before the start. He's questionable. Okay, so let's first do this as if Capella and Harden play. If they play, it's pretty simple. Harden or Westbrook are your only plays on Portland. On Houston. Pretty simple at that point. If Capella sits, PJ Tucker playing center. Look, I said a couple days ago that if Isaiah Hartenstein was bad, you could take my money. And, they actually didn't get all my money. They got the vast majority of my money I put in play that day, but they did not get it all. Had one really good Hartenstein team. But, he just didn't play. They played PJ Tucker at the 5. Have to admit, I did not see that coming whatsoever. And if they did it against Rudy Gobert, they certainly would do it against Hassan Whiteside. If PJ Tucker's playing center at 4,600, I want him. This isn't the low usage guy that's going to stay in the corner. Well, actually, that's not kind of true. He's still low usage, but he'll get real rebounds. Like, those won't go away. He'll be in the paint. So if he's going to get you 8 to 10 rebounds, 6 to 7 points, and then some other stuff, like, he's going to pay off this price. So 4,600 PJ Tucker playing center is a guy I want. If PJ Tucker's not playing center, I have no interest in him whatsoever. If Harden was to miss, I just don't know who else you would take. Like, Eric Gordon's 7,300. Like, you cannot play Eric Gordon at 7,300 under any circumstances. Like, I mean any circumstances. And that probably includes, like, if Harden and Westbrook both got ruled out. Like, that was just one of those career nights. 20 free throws for Eric Gordon. I mean, yeah, don't chase that. On the Portland side, this is going to be interesting. Because, Whiteside against PJ Tucker should be a matchup that he dominates. I've been really high on Hassan Whiteside ever since Skylar Bissier went out because he's been playing huge minutes. He's a point per minute beast. Actually, I should see what Rudy Gobert ended up doing against PJ Tucker. I can't say I paid attention. 12 and 14, no peripherals. Yep, see, Whiteside's a little better than that. 8,500 for Whiteside's an interesting option. I'm just a huge Whiteside believer when he plays minutes, especially against a team like Houston that loves to drive, where I could see a ton of blocks. Leaning towards playing Whiteside right now, I think that would probably be my lean, but definitely not a decision written in stone. I kind of want to think about that matchup some more. Carmelo Revenge at 5,900. I don't think he determines his own usage, but then again, like, he does take a ton of shots. So I just wanted to point that out. I would imagine he's pretty vengeful. He had to sit out a year and a half from the NBA because of what Houston did to him. So he might just have a little bit of animosity there. McCollum's back, though, so it kind of kills, like, the super shot upside. But nonetheless, I do want to mention him. I think he's an interesting mid-tier play. Let's just say that the value doesn't open up and you need to play some more mid-tier guys. It's a good spot for him in this super high total game, 238.5. Other than that, McCollum's back, so none of those other, like, value guards are really an option. Oklahoma City at Sacramento, 221. This game, to me, is kind of just a straight write-off. And it's not because I don't like guys in this game. I do. It's just the prices are through the roof other than De'Aaron Fox at 8,100. Like, that's the only play I have any interest in. Like, Buddy Hield at 7,100. That's too expensive. Bailey at 6,700. It's too expensive. Bogdan at 5K, I guess, is playable, but I'm not thrilled about it. He's been pretty bad lately. Dwayne Dedmon finally had that game I was worried about where he would just get benched. Like, we talked about it. And he was bad in both games over the weekend. So that's not really a great spot. Kent Bazemore, 3,400, just doesn't play enough minutes. So for me, it's kind of just a straight write-off other than De'Aaron Fox. And then for the Thunder, when all four of those guys play, Paul, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Schroeder, and Gallinari, these guys are all too priced up for any of them. So I just really can't get there. Nerlens Noel doesn't play enough minutes with Adams. Neither does Baisley. Neither does Dort Diallo. So this game's kind of, I like to sometimes get the late night hammer, and it'd be nice to have another player or two in this game so we could kind of do some swapping based on what happens in Houston, Portland with news. But there's just nothing really here that's appealing to me, and there's nothing the model likes either. So this game's probably a write-off for me as well. So really the games I'm attacking are Houston, Portland, Utah, San Antonio, and then Detroit, Brooklyn. It's a 6-game slate, but the way the pricing is kind of feels more like a 3 or a 4 gamer. But again, there's so much news that's going to change probably between now and lock. Make sure you check fantasycruncher.com for all the latest articles, news, whatever. And we also have our Discord channel as well. Chris got a question here in the Twitch chat about Chris Paul interest. 7,400 is just too expensive with those guys back. He just doesn't play monster minutes. I just can't get there. I get it. I firmly would understand it if you played him. It's fair if you think he's going to get 33 to 35 minutes. I just can't project that. And I would just rather play Fox for 81 at that point. But understand if you do want to play Chris Paul, just not for me. So, with that, guys, I really do appreciate it. Why is Mike Conley chalk? Is he chalk? I don't know. Like, I'm asking, I don't know if he's chalk. If he's chalk, I'm annoyed. It's a good play. His minutes came back. He played 25 minutes for 3,800. It's a joke. So he probably is chalk, but I don't know that for sure. I haven't looked at ownership, but if he is chalk, it's probably pretty good chalk. So with that, guys, please make sure you subscribe and like if you're watching over on the YouTube channel. If you have any questions on the stream, I'll be in the Fantasy Cruncher Discord channel to answer those. Sorry this one's a little shorter, but I'm dual streaming this bad boy between Twitch and YouTube. Once we kind of get back to separate streams, we'll be able to do more questions and answers. But until tomorrow, good luck, everybody.